probably the most interesting game of the round. So they played a Grunfeld, because Nepo plays the Grunfeld. And Magnus plays everything. Magnus has played 10 different lines against the Grunfeld. And he plays the slightly unusual Queen A4 check. Okay. What he prepared for this game. And obviously, with the knight on D7, we're not getting our usual Grunfeld attack on C5. On D4 with C5, knight C6. D-Rush98 subscribed. Thanks for the subscription. So, the Grunfeld, we give white the center, then we attack it, and if our pawn's on C5, our knight's on C6, and our queen's on D8, we got a lot of pressure on D4, so Queen A4 is like, yeah, put your knight here and get rid of all the pressure. So instead of playing the usual knight C6, he plays knight B6. And in fact, there was a game played in a rapid tournament, which Black also won, where Nepo played A6 against Razintsev, I think. So knight B6, and we're still putting pressure on D4. We're doing it. Okay, and in this position, in previous games, White played G takes F3, and Magnus played Bishop takes F3. And obviously, the point of playing Bishop takes F3 is to take this pawn. And this was Carlsen's prep. He prepared the move E5. And he played E5 very quickly because this is his preparation. So Bishop takes F3 novelty, E5, stopping Black from playing E5, cementing his bishop, and putting pressure here. Maybe E6, Bishop H6, Bishop G5. This is pinned. And Black's up a pawn. Okay, and here Nepo thought for 20 minutes, because this is probably the first position he didn't know. The engine says Black has two moves that are reasonable. He can take the rook and get the two rooks for the queen, but have all of his pawns hanging. Or he can play knight C4, which is what he chose. Queen B4. B5 is possible. It's very, very complicated. Played rook C8, which is just normal. Now this pawn is hanging. And what I wonder is, when Magnus prepared E5 with his people, did he look at knight C4, queen B4, rook C8, and he was still in his prep? Did he look at it and he forgot? Or did he stop looking already because there's so many possible moves? I don't know if Magnus is still in his prep. He played bishop H6, which is reasonable. And if you play rook E8 now, E6 is annoying because this king is going to get a little tickle. So he decided to get his two rooks for the queen now, because that way he can save his rook and recapture. It makes sense. And Black actually is close to winning here if White doesn't play the next move. Black's next move is knight takes E5. Then Black's probably winning. Black has two rooks and one or two pawns for a queen, and White has nothing. That knight on E5 is a monster. So you play E6. And you try to mess up Black's king position permanently. And he played knight E5, which is good. Took with the knight. There's no mates on the back rank, which some of you are probably thinking, because the bishops defend. Bishop E3. And this is better for White because all of Black's pawns are potentially going to get captured. I have the two bishops. My king is really safe. And your king is always, a little iffy. It should be a draw, but I think a lot of grandmasters would take White here. The engine likes rook C7, which looks really strange. He played bishop D4. Obviously, you can't take it because you get mated. And that gets rid of the two bishops. So Magnus went yum, yum, yum. Take some pawns. I take you. Take all the pawns. And unfortunately, For Magnus, there's nothing left. Trade. Yeah. And they agreed to a draw. Well, they didn't agree to a draw. They repeated. But this is obviously a draw now. No passed pawns. Well, e-pawn's passed, if you can call it passed. Then after the game, Magnus just said Nepo defended great. Like, a perfect defense. He's like, what are you going to do? So, yeah, I agree. I think Nepo defended that pretty well. Because, his king is under some pressure. White has the two bishops. His pawns are weak. And he just found a way to trade off the bishops, got rid of both of them, and then White has nothing, and Black's king is perfectly safe.